Welcome to another episode of the Fabric Library podcast. As I remind you every time, the purpose of this podcast is to talk within our industry. There's so many amazing stories to share in the design and furnishing industry. Unfortunately, no one talks about them, neither does it get enough coverage. So we took it upon ourselves to talk about it and bring those stories to life. Listen, we work with some of the best in the industry, and that's why we believe that their stories deserve to be heard. And there's so much to learn and share, and so much wisdom to have from their stories and how they've built up their businesses. So speaking of some of the best businesses, one of the best home furnishing businesses that we do work with very closely is one that is known as Collectic Home. And the superpower behind it, the lady that runs it, is our guest on this Fabric Library episode. I'm absolutely honored and privileged to have with me on the studio Heba el Hashimi, is that right?
El Habashy.
El Habashy, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, why did I say Hashimi? I don't
No
know.
worries.
So where does this Habashi come from? From your family name or?
Yeah, my family name. In Egypt, we don't take our husband's name. So
Oh,
we
lovely.
just keep our own, yeah.
Very, very progressive.
Yeah,
And Heba means gift, is that right?
Yes, exactly.
So you are a gift to the industry, put it that
Oh, wow.
way.
Thank you so much. Very
Right.
kind.
Okay. So Klekktic, one of the best furnishing stores in Dubai. I'm sure you agree that. Where did the idea of Klekktic, the name, come from before we actually get to the business idea itself?
So the name was just like, honestly, it doesn't have a very deep story. When I
Right.
wanted to start this business, I just wanted to come up with a name very quickly because I didn't want to spend a lot of time
Right.
meditating on that, because usually people get really stuck with names.
Mm.
So I thought about eclectic, and then I love the letter K. I find it to be very strong. And also I love the alliteration, KKK.
Right.
Again, very, very powerful. So yeah, that's how it kind of came about.
Interesting. Talks very much about your personality, is also very like quick thinking on your feet, very adaptive in the name,
Oh,
the way
thanks. Yeah,
the
thank
way
you so
you've had
much.
the name. Right. So let's talk about the ideation of Collectic. If I read well, if I've done my research well enough, it's because you moved homes a few years ago, and then realized there was a need for a decent enough furniture maker that wasn't available in the market. Is that right?
Yeah, basically my whole career has been in tech. I started my career in the UAE in 2012 working at Uber. And all the way until working in venture capital and, with a lot of different tech companies. So right before COVID, I had my first son. And we moved to a bigger house because obviously you had a child, and we moved in March. It was right before COVID, and I hadn't gone back to work yet. So during that move, because it was a bigger space, most of our furniture did not really fill the space. So we were looking a lot for a furnishing option. We started looking online, and at that time there was like nothing. Because it was COVID, we were not able to go to a lot of shops, and everything we were finding was either super expensive and basically imported, and the lead times were like 3 months, or it was very, very cheap and of poor quality. So we didn't at that time find almost anything locally made. So yeah, that's kind of how the idea was born. I really wanted to do something that was locally produced because I really believe in the production in the UAE. I also wanted to do something that was customizable,
Right.
so that it suits different people's needs, because I feel like furniture is a huge investment and it just shouldn't be one size fits all. And I also wanted to do something that was very fun and useful, accessible in price, and very tech tech native, so digitally first.
Right. So this whole concept, the idea of factory to the home.
Yeah.
How did this come about? Because you said it was your frustration that everything was just available, ready made, and there was nothing you could, design yourself or customize yourself.
Exactly. So basically, when you are buying, let's say, a sofa for 7,000 dirhams, that's a huge investment for most people. I don't think it's fair to expect them to just go to a shop and have to find a sofa that, the design, of course, you can make your own designs. You have to have a set design
Right.
as a starting point. But I don't think the color and the size is expected to fit in most people's homes. Like, if it's a gray sofa and it's 2.5 meters, it doesn't mean it's going to fit in everyone's home. But that's kind of the expectation, more or less. Yes, some people have modular options, but it's still pretty much very limited because of production, because they make everything in China or wherever, and they keep it in a warehouse, then they ship it over. Obviously, you can't expect them to ship over every single person's needs. So that's why we kind of wanted to go more towards that made to order model. We have set designs. We don't change our designs, but people can customize the size and the color and the fabric. So that gives them a lot of flexibility. And also, going from factory to home is a lot more sustainable. You don't have to have warehousing. You don't have to have all these employees in warehousing. You don't have to ship things, which is so bad for the environment. And also, basically, when you're buying a premium item, just like with any luxury good, even bags, shoes, most of what you're paying for is not the product. It's the whole machine behind it, the storage, the sourcing, the employees. For us, we don't have these costs, and we don't want to have these costs because we want you to be transparently paying for the quality of your item.
Right.
Which is why actually when a lot of people come to our showroom or, get our stuff after they order it, they're so surprised. They're like, wow, the quality is so good. We didn't expect that. We didn't expect that a product made locally in this price point would be so superior to a lot of items that we've bought from like big box retailers. And honestly, that was the intention from the start. And I feel like we've grown so fast because of this value that we offer to people.
Did you have a tough time figuring out who you're going to work with in terms of manufacturing this stuff? Because obviously you were new to the industry. You're going to have to now find people who can actually match your expectations in terms of quality. How was that journey?
Exactly. That was really tough. Like basically it took maybe more than a year to figure out, we went through so many bad suppliers initially. It was so many people not attentive to details, so many factories with strange conditions. Like we don't want to be working with a factory where the conditions are very poor. We saw all of this initially. We went all over the UAE. It was so tough. And I had no experience with furniture manufacturing at all.
Exactly.
So initially a lot of people would trick me. They would say like, oh my God, we're using this material, but it would be that material. We're doing this, but it would be that. So there was a lot of learning. There was a huge learning curve, frankly. And now we have really great suppliers, and most of our suppliers work exclusively with us, just because of the volume that we give them, or if they don't work exclusively with us, then they have a section maybe for Klekktic production specifically. And in that sense, we're able to grow their business. So they're able to hire more people. They're able to have more resources to experiment. And we're also able to grow our business. The more we grow, the more they grow. So it's actually a very symbiotic relationship, which is why we never also thought about getting our own factory or making our own factory. Just like doesn't really make sense. I'm not a big believer in that model. I'm a big student of Uber in that you should be asset light, and therefore you can scale.
You can't expertise in everything. There are certain things you're good at, and there are certain things that someone else will do well. So we rather use their technical knowledge on that. And I can tell you, a lot of workshops that we work with sometimes even take pride. Oh, we supply to Collectic. Oh, we supply to,
That's
so and
nice.
so. So that's encouraging to see that, okay, they really find pride in the fact that they work with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, fabric supply is not a problem for you so much. You've got the best in hand. We'll get to that. But let's roll back the years. You said you started with Uber. How did that come about? Is that as soon as you shifted to Dubai? Or?
No, basically what happened is I'm originally from Cairo, Egypt, but I never lived there. My whole life I traveled a lot.
Why is that?
Because my dad was a diplomat. So I lived in like really random places, Kazakhstan, Malta, Peru. I went to university in Boston.
Wow.
And then when I was in uni, I really wanted to live in Egypt for a bit because I never lived there and I'm Egyptian, which is really odd, So I moved back to Cairo, and it was right during the Arab Spring. It was 2011.
Wow,
so it was,
perfect timing, huh?
Exactly. It was so hectic. Like, oh my God. It was just a crazy time. And my parents weren't living there because my dad was still on a post in Malta. So I was living alone with my grandma. So it was like really hectic, frankly speaking. Like electricity would cut a lot. There was always protests. It was exciting though. I was, for me as a 21, 22-year-old, it was super exciting. I worked there at the first ever startup accelerator called Flat 6 Labs.
Okay.
Now it's massive. It's like so big in the Middle East. And when I was working there, I basically got an opportunity to join Uber as one of their first employees in the Middle East.
Okay.
At that time, 2012, 2013, Uber was not even known. I didn't even know what it was, frankly. It was just basically really just growing in the States, and it was kind of expanding outside of the US. So part of the reason I joined Uber was because I found it challenging to live in Cairo at that time, though I still loved Cairo, but there was a lot of challenges that someone who didn't grow up there was facing. Meanwhile, I thought, okay, why not? It's a really exciting opportunity, be interesting to live in Dubai. Why not?
And you had never been to Dubai before that?
I've been there like maybe once or twice for tech conferences with Flat 6
but not
Labs,
as a resident to live.
But not at all. I didn't know anyone who lived here. Most of my friends from college lived in New York or LA. Literally, I don't know anyone who even. My family was not in like a Gulfy family. They never moved to the Gulf. They never lived in the Gulf. No one in my family. Either they always lived in Cairo for their whole life, or my dad who moved around to like different countries. So I had no idea. So I just had like a few very distant friends here, and I moved to work at Uber, which was a great experience. I feel like I learned so much about marketing from Uber just because they're so bold and they're so resourceful. Like everything is done with a lot of like purpose. And it's very intentional, and it's done with the idea of growth, which is I feel like I learned a lot from Uber. So that
You're an entrepreneur now, and obviously an entrepreneur is supposed to have all-round capabilities. But
yes,
if I were to ask, what is Hiba's expertise? What is her domain? Would you say it's marketing?
definitely I love marketing. It's like my passion, and also what I think I'm really good at. I love like communicating with customers. I love creating stories around, objects or brands. I find that to be really powerful because most of our marketing is done digitally.
Right.
That's how we get all of our customers. For the first 2 years, we didn't spend a single dime on marketing. It was all through
Word of
organic.
mouth.
Even when we worked with influencers, which a lot of people have seen, they think we paid them nothing. We usually do like, maybe give them a
barter
product,
system,
or even loan them the product. They don't even keep it, but people just like really appreciate a story that they can, relate to. And I find that to be really powerful and really fun as well.
Right.
Though it can be very expensive
Of course.
to create like the right content. It can be a big investment, but I love doing it and I think it pays off.
Right. You mentioned college friends. You're a Harvard graduate. Did I read right?
Yes.
Were you always an academic? Or?
I mean, yes, I was very nerdy growing up. Just like, yeah. And I went to Harvard. I studied economics.
Okay. And how was that experience? Learning in one of the best schools in the world.
It was really amazing. Honestly, I miss it. Actually, funny enough, my 15-year college reunion is coming up this summer.
Wow, okay.
So that's going to be really fun to go back and see everything. It was very like American, like campus life, very college vibes. I loved it. It was amazing.
Amazing. Right?
Yeah, it was really amazing.
Well, we've touched a little bit on your business. I want to go back to that, but before that, let's again go back into the years. Your college, you got into Uber, but in between all of that, you found your husband. Tell us about that.
Actually, I met my husband much later.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
right after Uber, I joined Dubai Design District. It was in the early stages. They had not launched yet, or they had just launched actually. And my husband was one of the first people to sort of work on the idea of Dubai Design District with TCOM. He was working at TCOM at that time.
Right.
So I met him there, which was really great.
Love at first sight, or?
For me, yes. Maybe not for him. He always jokes about that, but it's actually very true.
Right.
Yeah, so we met there. And we were friends initially, and then
And he comes from a very different culture, very different background. Was that ever an issue, or was that ever a?
Actually, funny enough, not really. We're very similar because we're both like third culture kids.
Okay.
Right. My husband's from Kashmir, Indian occupied.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I did read about it.
Yeah,
so.
He's from Indian occupied Kashmir, but he grew up again.
Just like you in
all
different
over.
parts. Okay.
He basically lived primarily in Singapore. And he went to university in London, so he moved around, and then he came to Dubai. He's been in Dubai for almost 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, in that sense, we're really similar. Even from the Kashmiri side, actually, Kashmiris and Arabs are very similar.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like very Muslim driven. I mean, very warm, very family based.
Right.
So I don't think we have almost no similarities in that sense.
Amazing.
So I find a lot of people ask me that and they're surprised, but I don't know. I've never faced it.
That's probably because you both had very similar upbringings. Because you've seen, see, I've always believed that the more you see the world, the more, wider your lens becomes. The more you see the world in a more non-tunnel vision kind of way. There's so much more to it.
Yeah, even his parents and my mom and stuff, they're very similar. I find them to be more similar than maybe two Egyptians or two Kashmiris.
Right. So back to Klekktic, you had your son and then you started the business.
Yes.
Now, I know Dubai is a very progressive place, very safe place for women and all of that. But as a woman entrepreneur, did you have your challenges in setting up businesses? Would you have some kind of reservations from people that you worked with? This is not your forte. What are you doing, kind of thing?
I mean, to be honest, definitely. Dubai is so progressive. Maybe one of the most progressive places. Maybe even more than a lot of Western countries. It has nothing to do with really Dubai. It has more to do with the industry of manufacturing. Right. I think manufacturing is a very male-heavy industry. Of course, and most of the people that run factories or production facilities are quite old school. They're not necessarily like very young. They might be older generation. They might not necessarily think that women know a lot about manufacturing because it's quite a heavy industry.
Yes.
And it's generally been very male dominated.
Yes, of course.
So definitely there was issues in that. But let me tell you, money talks. When factories see you bringing them business, I mean, they don't care.
That's
if you're a
the
woman,
closing.
if you're a man, if you're an alien, all they care about is that, wow, our revenues are growing and it's because of Collectic. Yeah, we better take them seriously.
Amazing.
So we have a great relationship now. I mean, honestly, I love the suppliers, all of them that we work with. I find them very like, we have family vibes. Like, I was so touched. Like when I gave birth to my daughter last year, so many of my suppliers sent us really cute gifts and stuff. Like for example, I was making a bed for my son's room. One of our suppliers just did a beautiful bed for him as a gift.
Wow.
It was just, it's like a very nice relationship now.
Right.
And personally, I value it. For me, it's not just about like making money or business. I also enjoy having like a nice relationship with the people I work with. And when I see that people are benefiting and they're happy, and it's kind of like mutual, then I find it to be very successful and positive. I don't like being in a relationship that's not mutually beneficial. I hate that.
It's not purely transactional, but there's more to it. That's what you believe in.
I don't think that's enough for me. Like purely transactional, it's not really my thing.
Right.
But it could work for some people. It could work, it could not. For me, I prefer having like a very like warm relationship.
Right.
Like if I need something and I call them, I know that they're gonna do it for me. Versus if it's just a transaction, I mean, why would they, you know?
True. You want them, it comes both ways. It needs to be mutual. I'll try and go out of my way. I'll even inconvenience myself to try and get this done for you. That's what a good relationship is.
And we would do the same, of course.
Exactly.
Like
I was going to ask this question much later, but since we're on the subject of suppliers, you have to tell me your experience working with Fabric Library.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love Fabric Library, of course. I mean, honestly, I find Gary to be a very inspiring person. He's like very mentor-like towards me, and I appreciate that so much.
To all of us.
He's such like a successful person. He doesn't even need to spend like 2 minutes with me, basically. Like he's done so well and globally, not just obviously in the region. He still takes so much time out of his day to chat with me, answer my questions, like go out for dinner, lunch, whatever. It's so nice. And he's just so inspiring. And that really trickles down in his company. I find that everyone at Fabric Library is really driven, not just towards sales, but towards customer satisfaction, which is very much aligned with Klekktic's goals. Like for us, we don't want to just sell a sofa. Like we have a really long relationship with all of our customers. They buy something from us, they contact us after a year. We can fix it, we can change the fabric, we can refurbish it, we can help them clean it, we can change the color. Same with Fabric Library. They have a long relationship with their customers. And if you have any issues, they're more than willing to go above and beyond. Plus, honestly, the quality is unparalleled. It's super good. You can't really say anything about that. I mean, when you sell millions and millions of meters of a fabric, you pretty much can be certain that, you know, it stands by its promises. So that's always been something really positive. And my salesperson with Fabric Library is also just like a really nice guy. I don't know if I'm supposed to say his name or not.
You can if you want to, of course.
I'm here. He's amazing. I hope no one else tries to take him though.
I don't think he's going to go anywhere. He loves working there.
Exactly.
I think just like you, he's obsessed with Gary. He wants to be another Gary. You know? So.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, who doesn't want to be Gary?
True, 100%. All of us are driven by what he is and the values he brings. And speaking of that, it's interesting. I love the flow of this conversation. You talked about how our values align.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gary has his way of, mentoring us and teaching us.
Yes.
What's your philosophy with your team? Like, how do you hire people and then mold them into becoming what they are, and then making sure that your values, what you expect to give a customer, is also then, ingrained into your people?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, I was just talking to Gary about that. This has been a big learning for me as well. I don't classify myself as the best manager. I find that I learned a lot about how to manage people, which is really challenging for me until today. I found that my husband taught me a lot because he's an amazing manager. He has so many people reporting to him and they all love him, but they still get their job done. So I found that you have to strike a balance between being inspiring and kind of like touching on people's personal aspect and still expecting a lot from people and making sure that they meet your expectation.
Right.
It has to be balanced. It can't just be, only your expectations and you not giving them anything else. And it cannot be just you giving them and them not giving you anything in return. Plus, I've learned a big lesson last year, which has stayed with me very clearly, that people are not motivated by money enough. So if I tell you, you need to sell more furniture, I'm going to give you a higher commission. That's not enough.
Right.
I need to be giving you more time. I need to be giving you more inspiration. I need to be giving you more trainings. I need to be giving you more feedback when you do something well. I need to be sort of, giving you a lot of different things. And money could be one of them, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
There's so many other things that are important. And I don't know if that goes for everyone, but for a lot of the people that work with us or, that I've seen, money is not enough. It's not going to make you go above and beyond.
Right.
You need to also feel secure. You need to feel comfortable in your place. A lot of people in the UAE always feel like very temporary in their jobs. Like, oh my God, I could be fired at any moment. And, sales are very strict deadlines. If you don't meet your targets like 3 months in a row, you're fired. Like all of this like stress. And I think it's really hard to work under so much stress.
Right.
Of course, I expect you to meet your deadlines, but I need to also give you tools to do that. We need to be in it together. If you don't do it in August, because August is a slow month, I'm not going to fire you. It doesn't make any sense. So it's a very much give and take.
Yeah, I think one word comes to mind because I've been a business owner myself in Sri Lanka. I mean, we sell the same product in Sri Lanka. The word is empathy. You got to really empathize with your people, know them, know about their families. Maybe inquire with them once in a while. Hey, how's your wife doing? Hey, how's your mother doing? I heard you were not well. So, I mean, you can do that at a smaller scale. Obviously, the bigger your company becomes, and you can't keep in touch with everyone's families.
Yeah, of course.
So that goes a long way in, it's not so much about you going out of your way. It's about the person realizing that, okay, you know what? My boss really cares about my well-being. So I think that's something that has worked. And I think that's something also Gary does very well. That's something we've learned from. You mentioned your husband being a very good manager of people and stuff. How has his help and contribution been in Klekktic becoming what it is today?
Crazy. I mean, I basically couldn't have done it without him. He's like a silent partner in our business. And honestly, like he is so supportive and so helpful. Like I go to him with a lot of questions, things I'm not good at, like operations. I'm terrible at that. He's really good at it. So he helps me with that. He's very he simplifies things a lot. I tend to overcomplicate things and he takes it down. Also, his background is in real estate and development. So he helps me a lot with that space. He helps me a lot with product development. And he's also like a really good communicator in the beginning or even now when I have issues with suppliers. He's always soothes the issue down, simplifies it, makes it go away, basically. So yeah, I don't think I could have done this business at all without him.
You know what I found from this conversation, a very short conversation so far, that you are very critical of yourself. That I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that.
I didn't say anything. No, I mean, it's not that I'm critical.
No, which is good because you don't
maybe.
want to have that ego that I'm the best at everything. When you're constantly questioning yourself.
It's not true. For sure, I'm definitely critical of myself, and I know that there's things I can work on.
Right.
But I'm fine with it. Like it doesn't bring me down.
Of course.
Like I'm very realistic about it. I'm not gonna be good at everything. And I don't want to be I want to improve, but there's also people that are going to be better than me, which is great. And I should use their expertise.
That's the thing about Dubai. Like any room you're in, there's always someone more successful than you.
Exactly.
And that's so inspiring because then it gives you another pedestal to try and climb. Okay,
exactly.
I'm here. I want to try and be better than that.
Yeah, there's no reason why people should think that they're the best at everything when they're not. You just are not. And when you think that you are, you're doing yourself a disservice.
True.
Because you're not aspiring to improve, And yeah.
No, I think we've all agreed that you and Klekktic are doing a lot of great things, which is evident in the way people talk about Klekktic and all of that. And the reason I mentioned you being overcritical of yourself is if you could maybe go back a few years when you started and change some things that, okay, maybe I should have done this better, or point your finger at certain things and maybe I should have done this better. Is there anything that comes to mind that you think could have done better?
Yeah, a lot. But one thing that really I was thinking about recently is initially when I was first starting this business, because it was all self-funded between me and my husband, I was so cheap. Like everything I would pay for, I would be so careful.
Go for the cheapest quotation that you've got.
Go for the cheapest thing. So let me just tell you, for example, I went through 6 or 7 accounting firms.
Wow.
Because I was starting off with crazy cheap prices, 900 dirhams a month. And everyone would tell me listen, that's not normal. You cannot be paying an accounting firm 900 dirhams a month and expect to get anything.
True.
That's basically 2 meals. Seriously.
Yeah, true.
You
go for a fancy dinner.
Yeah, if you're going for a fancy dinner, it's 2 meals. What are you expecting? So I went like then a little bit cheap, more expensive. Now like I'm paying a normal price and I'm getting like a great result.
Right.
So I should have kind of done that from the beginning. And that went through a lot of different things.
Right.
You know, hiring people, I would go for like very cheap hires and like obviously expect them to do stuff that
They're obviously not cut out for.
Yeah, and it's an unfair pressure also to put on people. So now I understand, like you basically get what you pay for, and especially in Dubai.
Right.
If you want something really good, you need to kind of pay a little bit more. And yes, it hurts as a business owner to pay more because it's coming out of your pocket. It's no one else is giving you that money. But you know, you have to invest in your business and you have to do the best for it because it grows so much more.
True.
So all the times I wasted like arguing with accountants could have been hundreds of hours over the years.
True.
I could have saved all that time, you know, by spending like few thousand dirhams more.
Yeah, and you know that extra bit that you pay ends up making you more money in the long run.
Exactly.
And then you cover that quite easily.
Exactly. And I always now think like I'm going to hire the best candidate I get, regardless of what they're asking for in terms of salary. Just because I feel like people appreciate being paid fairly and they appreciate being paid well. And when they're comfortable financially and they don't have that stress of like, oh my God, how am I going to pay my rent and all of that? They actually perform really well.
Right.
And they're very thankful for the opportunity. So even if you can get the same person for, let's say 10K, but you're ending up paying them 12 or 13 or 15K, I feel like that's better on the long run in terms of their performance, their dedication, their loyalty, so on and so forth.
Of course. I mean, it's about the right person being given the right remuneration and getting the right things out of them. Okay,
Exactly.
let's steer a little bit. We are all in Dubai. This is why we're having that conversation because it's a very competitive place.
Yes.
It's a very fast-moving place. You know, things change overnight. Lots of great development happening. For you, what is the best thing about living and working and doing a business in Dubai?
Oh my God, what's not? Like, everything is amazing.
If you could point a finger at one thing that really drives you about it.
I mean, honestly, I feel like my business would have not been anywhere near where it is now if I wasn't in Dubai. Like, just Dubai is heaven for entrepreneurs. First of all, setting my business up was so easy until now. Like when I do an employee visa, when I do anything related to like paperwork
The process,
or whatever,
the bureaucracy is much lesser.
literally none. Like zero bureaucracy. Things get done like in a day. Like I've never heard of that happening anywhere else.
True.
Also, it's just like so easy to grow a business here. Like I don't know what it is. Like maybe it's word of mouth, maybe it's referral, maybe it's just like people, I don't know, just things grow organically very well here. And I not just in our industry of furniture, but in cafes, in F&B, in retail, in a lot of different things, people have a really big capacity to uptake. And especially when it comes to homegrown local businesses. Like you would be shocked to know how many people come to us because we are made here. And how many people don't want to buy something imported.
Right.
They just don't want to. Like they love the idea that something could be made locally in, you know, the UAE, whether they're Emirati, whether they're not. They just like that idea.
Yeah. And it makes sense because it's economical. It's also sustainable.
Exactly. Initially, when I started this business, people wanted this whole like European thing. Oh, it's made in Europe, blah, blah, blah. Now they don't want that anymore.
And not much is made in Europe now anyway.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Not much is made in Europe.
It's like the iPhone designed in California but made in China.
Yeah, we all know about that. Even like luxury bags that you're paying $10,000 for, they're literally made in Europe and the lining is only put in Europe and everything else is made elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I think I love that people appreciate that more. That's something that really makes me happy. I love like the support that people give each other. Like when they see someone doing well, they don't mind telling other people about them. I also love how if you work hard in Dubai, you will get places.
Yes, for sure.
And it's just about how hard you work and how much you're willing to work hard. There's also so many like entities here, like in the government and so on, that support businesses like ours, like Dubai Culture, so many other entities, you know, that are really great. Lastly, I love Al Quoz. Like I was one of the first businesses to really set up a nice showroom in Al Quoz in 2020.
Right.
There was very little showrooms there, maybe one or two. And of course, there was also Al Avenue, but I mean, outside of Al Quoz, which is less like structured.
Yeah.
I love that area. And now it's becoming so full of showrooms, so full of creativity. And I love that. And it just speaks to Dubai. Like when I first moved to Dubai in 2013, Al Quoz was like no man's land.
Like an industrial area that
No,
nobody goes to.
no man's land. Like if someone told you to go to Al Quoz, you'd be like, no thanks. I'm scared. Like I'm not going there. I don't know where to park. I don't know the streets. Like Google Maps is not correct.
Right.
Now Al Quoz is like the place, I have to tell you. And it just speaks about how fast Dubai is.
In just 4 years, it's come to what it is.
Just 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's like now I'm trying to find a new space to expand to. It's so hard. There's so much demand on warehouses in Al Quoz. Like it's crazy. Yeah.
Now, some of us in sales, we have a joke that if we come to office on a Monday morning and we don't know where to go, we just drive to Al Quoz. Because you'll find someone to meet and talk to. One of your customers will probably give you time.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
yeah. I'm sure you guys are there now all the time.
All the time.
Exactly.
Someone's always in Al Quoz from Fabric Lab because either we are delivering or picking up payments or something like that.
It's becoming a real
so
hub.
So many customers there.
Such a hub.
Yeah, it's
right?
crazy. Amazing. Especially for the interior industry. Like everyone just wants to be in Al Quoz. Speaking of places in Dubai, and I told you I've been doing some reading on you and your company. What is your obsession with Palm Springs? Explain to me.
What's Palm Springs?
Palm Springs.
Oh, California.
Yeah. No, you keep mentioning Palm Springs in every interview that you've given.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Oh. Oh my God. I don't know. I love that Palm Springs, like 1970s.
The whole vibe. And
mid-century modern vibe.
Right.
Also, I live in a house in Dubai that's like a one single floor bungalow style. And it's very Palm Springs. Like it's very like 1970s. Actually, it was built like 50 years ago, but it was renovated. And it has that vibe and I love it. I really like that very 1970s, very mid-century modern vibe. And I really try to infuse that a lot in our products. So I definitely am obsessed.
Okay.
And also Palm Springs and Dubai have a lot of things in common.
How so?
It's a desert. We're in the desert here. A lot of the lifestyle there is very similar. So yeah.
Nice. Fantastic. Good to hear. Right. I think we're coming to the end of our conversation. It has absolutely flown. I haven't even realized.
Me either at all.
Yeah. So listen, we've spoken about how you started off and came to Dubai, how you started Klekktic and how the journey has been now. Let's fast forward 10 years, or rather not 10 years. That's too much. Let's go 5 years.
Yeah.
Where do you envision Klekktic to be and what is Hiba doing 5 years later?
Great. So I really, for this year or for the next 12 months, I really want to expand my physical space.
Right.
I want to do something more collaborative with other maybe accessories, lighting brands, something more collaborative because I think it'll be really fun and beneficial. I really want to work more on our expansion in the GCC.
Right.
So we sell quite a lot now to Saudi. Like we have a lot of customers there and a lot of people order from us, but we don't have anything dedicated just to Saudi. So I want to work on doing something just for the KSA customer, which I think they deserve also. I really want to, keep enjoying my life with Klekktic and with my family and with my young kids. I have 2 very young kids. Yeah. Both of them are under 5, so they require a lot of time and energy, which I love giving to them. But I want to keep doing that.
That's the thing. How do you? Because I'm a father of 3. Managing young kids is difficult. Balancing between 2 very young children and then giving that time to the business.
Yeah.
Easy?
Difficult? No, definitely not easy. I feel like just kids alone is a full-time job.
It's a full-time
by
job, 100%.
Far. And honestly, I only realized that when I had my own kids. I used to think like, oh, all these full-time moms have so much time. No. Literally, they don't have a breathing moment.
And it's a 24 hours job. It's not even like a 9 to 5.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's just about being really hyper organized. That's one of the main reasons why I want to keep having my own business and not ever going back to the workforce, just because I can control my schedule. My kids are very early morning people, just like I'm sure everyone's kids are. So I can spend a lot of time with them in the morning. My showroom opens at 11, between 11 and 4, they're busy with school, activities, whatever. After 4, I end up winding a little bit down with the team, spending dinner time, bedtime with my kids. Then after they're asleep, of course, I have to go back to work again, like online planning. So it's a lot about organization. It's a lot about finding balance. And I recommend working out at least once a day because it gives you so much energy. Of course, yeah. What
are Heba's passions and hobbies and activities that she does on a weekend, maybe when she's free and doing nothing? Anything that drives you?
My favorite thing to do is hanging out with my family, basically my husband and my kids. It's like my favorite. I love working out. I work out every day, one way or the other. I love going to the beach when the weather is nice. It's really like something I enjoy doing, and I love traveling.
Okay.
Yeah, so I travel a lot as much as I can.
Of course, as a child, you've been to almost so many different countries. You've seen the world quite a bit, huh?
Yeah, I've traveled a lot, but it never gets old.
Really, yeah. I mean, the world's huge. There's a lot to see and a lot to do and a lot to learn from. Okay, obviously you're still a young mother, but when you started, you were an even younger mother with a very small child. People in the design industry, young women like you, want to start off. They want to balance family and they want to balance work. Maybe some of them are not so focused on family. They want to have a career. Is there something you'd like to give them as an advice to say that, listen, you better do this, better get your priority right in terms of this and that before you set out on that venture?
Yeah. I mean, I think starting a business is definitely not for everyone. It's very challenging and it's very time consuming. And a lot of people glamorize it. They think it's like, oh, it's so nice to have your own business. It's just like whatever. No, it's not. It's very stressful because you're responsible for cash flow. You're responsible for a P&L. You're responsible for a lot of people's salaries. You're responsible for customers and the promise that you give them. So unless you're able to take on all of that responsibility, then there's a lot of opportunities to work with someone else that might be similar to you and not have the risk of your own business. However, if you do want to start a business and you're ready for that commitment, then I definitely think that the best advice I can give you is just to be super organized with your time. The more organized with your time you are, the more you can achieve in a shorter time frame. I also think that the best advice I can give is to do everything as much as possible yourself in the beginning. So there's no need to outsource like photography, social media, this, that when you're first starting, because it's just going to cost you a lot of money and it might not get you even great results. I think you should do as much as you can yourself until you prove your concept, until you have a little bit of money coming in. Then you can maybe start slowly outsourcing things. Like until now, we don't outsource our social media. Like we work with people that help us with video and photo. We still do everything in-house. I mean, yeah, that's
some
what I would say.
Solid content for a short reel that we're going to try and inspire people with. Heba, it's been an absolute pleasure, this conversation. Time has flown, I haven't realized.
Even me, I don't even know how much time we've been here, but it doesn't seem like a lot.
Fantastic. It's great talking to you, and I'm sure we keep having conversations since we've worked so closely together.
Yes.
Klekktic is an amazing furniture house. Go check it out if you still don't know about them.
Thank you
They've
so
got
much.
fantastic service, fantastic product, and they've got the best fabrics in the world on their furniture. I can guarantee you that.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Hiba.
Thank
It was
you
wonderful.
so much. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
This is the Fabric Library podcast. We'll see you on another episode. Cheers.